Hey guys, welcome to another class with me, Sean Haleen, where we are currently in week 2 of our shelter in place. And I hope you have not been getting tired of all the glute work I've been teaching, because I realized I have one more sequence that is among my favorite that I have not made a video about yet. And that is called the work of angular standing poses. And it is really fun. So all you'll need for today's class is a block or a block-like thing. And let's get started. So I want you to come onto your mat and start on hands and knees, or a simple tabletop position. Stack your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees, spread your fingers evenly. Inhale, look up, lift your butt, cow, and then exhale, look down, round your back, and come into cat shape. And a few more like that. Inhale, lift your head, lift your butt, cow, exhale, and round in. One more round. Inhale, and then exhale. Come back to a neutral spine. Walk your hands forward, curl your toes, stretch up and back, downward dog. Start by separating your feet nice and wide. Bend your knees generously. Maintain the bend of your knees, extend your hips back, then re-extend your legs towards straight. Then bring your feet back to about as wide as your hips. Inhale, come forward to a high push-up position. And then exhale, reaching from your hips, go back downward facing dog. Again, inhale, forward to plank. Keep your hips and thighs lifting upward, and then exhale back downward facing dog. And one more time. Inhale, forward to plank, and exhale back downward facing dog. From here, walk your hands slowly to the back of your mat. Separate your feet as wide as your mat in your standing forward bend. Bring a little bend to your knees, just like you did in down dog. Raise your butt up, stretch your head and spine down. Then if you can keep your fingertips on the floor, slowly begin to press your thighs back and stretch your legs towards straight. Then toe heel your feet back into about hips distance apart. Walk your hands forward again, back to a downward facing dog pose. Now this time, inhale, stretch your right leg up into the sky behind you. Exhale, bring your knee forward towards your nose. Raise your knee up, round your back like cat. Inhale, stretch your right leg back into the sky behind you. And then exhale, step your right leg forward to a lunge. Drop your left knee lightly to the ground. Keep your left fingers on the floor. Exhale, twist your right arm up to the sky. Keep your left toes curled under, and then as you exhale, straighten your back knee and twist your upper back a bit more. Inhale, release your right hand to the floor and step back downward facing dog. Inhale, second side, stretch your left leg up and back. Exhale, bring your knee to your nose, pause, press down into your hands, raise your knee up. And you can challenge yourself more by bringing your shoulders a bit more forward as you keep the knee lifting into your chest. Inhale, stretch your left leg back. And then exhale, step your left foot forward. Lower your right knee. Twist your left arm up to the sky this time. You can start with your back knee on the ground. Then tuck your back toes. And as you exhale, straighten your back knee and twist your upper body a bit deeper. Inhale, release your left hand, step back, downward facing dog pose. Walk your hands all the way to the back of your mat again. Bring your hands to your hips, stand strong into your feet, and come on up slowly. Exhale, hands by your sides, Tadasana. All right, I want to do one of my favorite kind of hamstring hip warm-ups with you guys. So bring your feet all the way together. I don't usually teach like this. And come into a forward bend. A lot of you might need to bend your knees a lot to do this. And then just step your left foot directly in front of your right foot, kind of like you were on a high wire. And again, you might keep your knees bent a lot. Some of you might straighten both legs. Don't let your fingertips come off the floor. So if they come off the floor, that means you've gone too far. Then, again, like you were walking up a tightrope or a high lock, something narrow, I can't think of it. Step your right foot directly in front of your left foot. Squeeze your legs. Bow in. Then step your left foot in front of your right foot. Squeeze your legs. Fold in. And then you're going to keep going. Right foot in front. Take a moment to fold. And then left foot in front. Take a moment to fold. I have very small feet, so you might already be at the front of your mat. But just keep going until you're at the front of your mat. And then once you're there, take whatever leg is in front. And then now we're going to go backwards. Pausing again. Working the legs to fold in. And then front leg goes behind. Fold in. And then one more time. Well, no, I have a few more times to go. And you're just walking along the tightrope back to the back of your mat. You might feel this more in your lateral hamstring than the gut of your hamstring. For some of you, the way the legs are crossed like this. Then come back to just your, quote, normal standing forward fold. And then walk your hands forward now back to a downward facing dog. Inhale, take your right leg up into the sky behind you. Exhale again, bring your knee to your nose. Pull your knee up around your spine. This time just step your right foot forward. Drop your left knee. Point your back toes. Inhale, both arms up to the sky. Turn your palms forward. Hook your thumbs together and stretch up, up, up. Exhale, release your hands to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to a plank pose. Exhale, lower down to the floor. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, stretch your left leg up into the sky. Exhale, bring your knee to your nose. Pause, raise your knee up, and then step your left foot through. Right knee down, point your back toes. Inhale, arms up. Switch the hook of your thumbs. And again, think more about going up than back to lengthen your side waist, to lengthen the back thigh. Exhale, release your hands to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank pose. Exhale, lower down. Inhale to your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. All right, same thing side to side again. Right leg up, inhale. Exhale, bring your knee to your nose. Raise your knee up, then step your foot full. Left knee down, point your back toes, arms up, hook your thumbs, bring your hips forward as you stretch up. Exhale, hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale to a plank pose. Wait to move with the breath. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, downward dog. Last time, left leg up. Exhale, bring your knee to your nose. Raise your knee up. Step your foot through. Lower your right knee and then inhale, arms up. Switch the hook of your thumbs. Low lunge. Exhale, release your hands down. Step back again, downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, from here, walk slowly to the back of your mat. Standing forward bend. Place your hands to your hips. And slowly come all the way up. All right, so I'm gonna turn to face towards you. You might wanna turn to face towards the camera or whatever you're watching me on. I assume you guys are all watching me on a computer, but you can put it on your TV, which is pretty awesome. All right, so now separate your legs wide. Then turn your toes out 45 degrees. Come into horse stance. So now, as you come into horse stance, I want to clarify, there's a lot of different things we do with the glutes and movement of the hips. Sometimes we swing the hips forward, or we take them back and pull them up and widen them apart. And they all have a different effect depending on what you're trying to do with your practice or what you're trying to activate versus stretch. So for today, what I want you to do, place your hands on top of your knees to begin. Now, just roll your butt back a little bit, right? And as you roll your butt back, what this tends to do is it creates a release of the inner thighs, but it tends to destabilize the inner knees and the back of the glutes. We've really been focusing on these last few videos on getting the back of the glutes to work and then working on different ways to engage those. Now, I know you've been in horse stance a long time, that's the idea. So now, instead of swinging your glutes back, just swing your glutes forward and push them forward towards me. And you'll notice that this tends to intensify the stretch, the inner thighs in a different way, probably a little bit lower down the leg, and it really fires up the back of the hips. Straighten your legs, parallel your feet, arms to the sides, and step or jump your feet together. So I'm really interested in working today on getting the back of the hip to move forward into the front of the hip, which is different than rolling the buttocks down or scooping the tailbone. It's a little bit more refined. So from here, go back to wide-legged, turn your toes out, bend your knees. And this is just to feel the contrast. Swing your hips back and then swing them forward. Right. Swing them back and swing them forward. So again, each of these movements has a different effect on the hip, the knee, the glute, etc. So this time, keep swinging the hips forward towards the camera so you really start to feel the back of your hips engage. But now, if you find yourself rounding your spine, you might have done a little bit too much. So unround just a little bit. Interlace your fingers, stretch the arms forward, and stretch the arms up. Then straighten your legs, arms to the sides, parallel your feet, step or jump your feet in. All right, so horse stance is a relatively easy pose to find that kind of work in. It gets a little bit more complicated when we start to work into the more classic variations of standing poses. So I'm going to teach you something that I learned from my Iyengar teacher years ago called angular standing poses. The first time you do it, chances are it's going to feel really awkward and terrible. You'll hate it, but I promise that after the second, third, fourth, fifth time, you might like it more and more. So what I want you to do, grab your block, stand on the back edge of the long side of your mat. So you can see where I'm standing all the way to the back. My heels are lined up with where the carpet is. Then separate your feet, keeping the heels back in line with the back of your mat. Turn your right toes all the way out. Turn your left toes in a little bit, and maybe a little bit more than you normally would for Warrior Two. You'll see why. All right. Bend your right knee, and then I want you to walk your right foot slowly to the center of your mat. Now, I don't know why I had you grab your block. You don't need that yet. I got ahead of myself. Do keep your hands onto your hips. So now first, I want you to notice what changed when you moved the foot to the center of the mat. Some of you will begin to feel a deeper stretch across the front of your back thigh, and some of you will start to notice a deeper engagement and pulling in of your front hip and glute. Now, depending on where you are in terms of balance, strength, and also height, you might want to stay here. If you feel stable and good, you can walk your right foot all the way across to the other side of your mat. Now, if you're a little bit shorter, walking your foot across the mat is a lot more intense than if you've got really long legs or you're really tall. So adjust for your stature. And also, if you feel like you're about to fall over, even if you do have long legs, you've gone too far. Keeping your hands on your hips, bend your front thigh deeper. Stretch your back foot down more. Now, for a lot of people, this movement of the front foot naturally brings your front glute, your front butt cheek in. If you don't feel that yet, pull your right buttock and swing it towards the camera, or the screen rather. At the same time, push your back foot down more, stretch the arms out, warrior number 2. Then to come out, straighten your front leg, step your left foot, whoopsie, to your right foot. All right, good job. Let's start again. So go back to where you began. Separate the feet wide. Turn your left toes all the way out. Turn your right toes in a little bit more than you normally would. The reason that I have you do that with your back foot is because in the whole process of moving the front foot, your back toes tend to turn outward or backward more. So bend your front knee. Walk your left foot first to the center of the mat. Surely one side's going to feel more stable or unstable than the other. So if this is your more unstable side, then you also want to move into it slowly and gingerly. Again, as you move the foot in, notice how that takes the back of the hip, back of the hamstring in and forward towards the screen. Then you're either going to stay here or slowly walk the foot all the way across. Bend your front thigh a little deeper. Now notice, the more you bend your front thigh, the more the back outer heel comes up and the back groin tends to get hard. We'll talk about hard versus soft groins in another video. That's kind of one of those vague instructions. So for now, I'll just say push the back outer heel down and root your front thigh, your back thigh back a little. Then as you bend your front knee, keep swinging your front hip in, just like we did in horse stance. Stretch the arms out, warrior number 2. Then straighten your front leg, step your back leg to your front leg. All right, again, start at the beginning, heels lined up with the back of your mat. Sorry, I'm moving my mat, kids keep sliding along the carpet. Turn the right toes all the way out, left toes in a little more than normal. So a lot of the times this is taught for 2 reasons: to help people find activation of their hips, and also for lower back, sacral, and SI stability. I've had sacral issues a lot, and this is one of the things that I did to help really create stability in my sacrum. From here, walk the foot, again to the center of the mat, or all the way across. Repeating warrior 2 just to create kind of some fluency in feeling, right? I'm sure it was just really awkward the first time, hopefully feeling less awkward the second time. Push your back outer heel down, squeeze and swing your front hip forward, stretch up tall. Then step your left foot to your right foot, and back again. Feet wide, left toes out, right toes in, bend your front thigh. So another sign that you're walking your foot maybe too far is if you feel any tightness in the knee, especially the side of the front knee, then you've probably walked your leg over too much. The more you walk your foot across the mat, the deeper the rotation in the hip. If your hips are stiff and they can't rotate as you walk the foot, the knee will start to take a lot of that rotation, which it does not like to do. So as you come into your final warrior 2 like this, notice the knee should feel really solid. You shouldn't even be noticing your knees at all. Arms out, breathe, stretch. Oh God. Straighten your front leg and then whoop. Oh shit. Sorry, I keep hitting the chandelier that's just out of view. All right, so now, hopefully your legs are warming up. Hopefully the angular poses are making a little more sense. Now grab your block. Just like we've been doing, separate your feet. Again, feet are lined up with the back edge of the mat. Right toes all the way out, left toes in slightly. Walk your foot accordingly. either to the center or all the way across the mat. Bend your right knee, angular warrior two again. Now, take the block at the highest setting, don't try to go lower than this, and put it first next to your right foot. So directly next to your right pinky toe. Then move your block a few inches over to the right, so it's more in the center of your mat, but still in line with your toes. If you moved the block back and you felt compression in your lower back, take the block closer to your foot again. Now, just like we were doing, bend your front thigh, squeeze your right hip towards the camera, roll your chest up. Now I'm going to add another refinement. For those of you who've done this type of work before, you might be able to add some more work. As you squeeze your right hip in, I want you to also lift the inner arch of your front foot. So right sit bone in, pull the inner arch of your right foot up, turn your chest, and stretch your top arm past your ear as you twist and rotate. Then inhale, come on up. Step your left foot to your right foot. Good. So if you don't know about lifting the arches of your feet or don't know how to, or you're just kind of overwhelmed with everything that we're doing, then don't focus on that. It's more just kind of a balancing act that helps to create a little more stability in the lower leg when you're doing this type of deep outer hip work. All right, so again, feet wide, left toes all the way out, right toes in slightly. Walk the foot across. Oh boy, I'm schwitzing. Here we go with the schwitz. Bend your front thigh. Again, place the block either directly next to your pinky toe or over to the left just a little bit. Now again, I'll repeat this. So for some of you, just the act of moving the foot will get the back of your hip to engage and swing forward. Some of you might not manually, but deliberately think about squeezing your left hip, pushing it forward so that you really feel your glute muscles working. Keep pressing and stomping your back outer foot down. Work on now lifting the inner arch of your front foot while you maintain all of this. And then stretch your top arm past your ear. Turn, twist, reach. Oh. Inhale, come on up. Step your right foot to your left foot. Whew. Okay, we've got one more. 4 more angular poses to go. You're almost there. So, starting again, heels lined up with the back edge of your mat. Turn your right toes all the way out. Turn your left toes in a little bit. Now this time, keep your front leg straight and walk it across. So now we're going to do triangle pose, or angular triangle pose. With the legs straight, it might feel more unstable. So you might not walk the foot all the way across, even if you've been doing it the whole time. Then place the block down. Again, the closer the block is to the foot, the less intense it is on the lower back. Fire up the legs. Squeeze your right hip and pull it forward towards the camera, towards the screen, as you lift the inner arch of your front foot and squeeze your quads. Then turn your chest, stretch your arm, and we'll take a side bended version. Reach your top arm past your ear. Keep swinging your front hip in. Keep lifting the inner arch of your front foot and stand strong into your back leg. Inhale, come on up. Step your back leg to your front leg. And back to where we started. Here we go. Hopefully you're starting to feel your hips. Yeah. Hopefully you're starting to feel your hips. We'll keep that vague. Left toes all the way out. Right toes in slightly. Again, here we go. Angular triangle pose. All right. Another reason that this can be beneficial to switch up the fundamentals of how you normally do a pose, like moving your feet, is it's a great way of kind of shocking the body into activating muscles that maybe are asleep, or taking the complacency out of a pose where we might have atrophied muscles or muscles that are overusing being overactivated. So while this is probably weird for you, it hopefully starts to wake things up that you would normally not feel in your normal triangle. Left hip in, inner arch of the front foot up, back outer heel down, turn, twist, top arm up to the sky, arm past your ear. Push down into your bottom hand, stretch up and out with your top arm. Work your legs like they've never been worked before. Then step your right foot to your left foot, come on up. Move your block off to the side for a moment, and then just take a moment and go back to a downward facing dog. You can either take a child's pose, or from down dog, inhale to a plank, exhale to the floor. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Stretch up and back. All right. Now, just come down onto all fours for a moment. We're going to do a variation of twisted child's pose that I learned from a wonderful Iyengar teacher, Carrie Owerko. Please check out her stuff if you've never heard of her. So I want you to take your block to the lowest setting. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time talking about what this is for and twists. We'll cover that in another video. This is just meant to really get your upper back to twist and open. So the block at the lowest setting, I want you to put your left knee up on the block and your right knee down. So the knees are separated as wide as your hips are a little wider. Just the left knee is up. Then as you exhale, thread your right shoulder and your right ear to the ground. Walk your top arm around, turn and twist. And hopefully without me having to explain, you'll feel that elevating the left thigh enables you to turn your upper back a little more successfully. And then slowly come all the way out. And then you'll just simply move the block to underneath the right knee. Right knee elevated, left knee down. You make sure the knees are in line with each other, right to left and left to right. And then exhale, thread your left shoulder and left ear down. Walk your top arm around your head. Let your whole spine turn, including your head and neck. And then inhale, slowly come on up. Move your block off to the side. Stretch back down to dog. Swing your right shin to a pigeon pose. Come up onto your fingers. Either stay here or bend your left knee. Bring your left foot in for a thigh stretch. Ooh, maybe we'll do a quad video next. Oh, good God. And then release. Downward facing dog. Switch sides, left shin forward. Again, either just working on maintaining an uprightness through your upper body, or bend your back knee, bring the right foot in, complain about how tight your quads are. Breathe. Especially if you're holding your foot, take your left hip and tack it back slightly. Bring your back right ribs a little more forward. Not your neck, your ribs. And then release, back to a downward dog. All right, walk to the back of your mat and slowly stand up. So we've got one more angular pose to do. You've probably noticed we've been doing all our angular poses in externally rotated standing poses. We're gonna do one in an internally rotated standing pose, and it's a little more intense, it's a little more wobbly, but I have faith in you, you're warmed up. You're strong. So holding onto your block, step your, let's see, how do I want to teach this? All right. I want you to face the front of your mat, but then stand towards the right-hand side of your mat. Then step your right foot forward and your left foot back, so both feet are on the right-hand side of the mat. Your back toes are turned out slightly. So it's kind of like when we did that tightrope walk at the beginning of class. Feet are in front of each other, but now they're separated. Then from here, I want you to walk your right foot slowly to the center of your mat. If you're falling over, stop. Otherwise, keep walking the foot all the way across. Now, from here, put the block at the highest setting, right next to the pinky toe side of the foot. Now, I know this next instruction is going to be a little bit weirder than normal, but it's going to help you to find a bit of length. Walk the block now about 6 to 10 inches forward and lengthen your chest. Before you twist, squeeze your right sit bone in, squeeze your right glute, even squeeze your left glute a little bit, and turn your chest. Keep working the legs, keep squeezing the glutes. If you feel balanced, take your top arm up. Every time you work your right sit bone in, twist your belly ribs a little bit more. Inhale, come on out, come on up. Now that might have been super intense. You might have fallen out a lot. For the second round, on the second side, you might choose to walk the foot across less. So again, the idea behind angular twisted triangle pose is to really get the stability in the outer hips, the side obliques, the side core. And even though this variation is not meant to get you into your deepest pose, if you are able to find the stability of the legs squeezing in and even the side obliques working, you might find your deepest pose, surprisingly. So now, left foot in front of right foot, both feet lined up with the back of your mat. Again, your back toes are turned in 45 degrees, so you're not fighting your calf, your back heel. Walk the foot across. This is really challenging. Squeezing both hips in. Then, place the block down, right next to the pinky toe. Don't twist yet. Now, walk the block forward a little bit and lengthen your spine like a back bend. Keep working the side hips. Squeeze the side hips in. Then, turn your chest before you take the top arm up. Then, top arm to the sky if you're balanced. Take a deep breath in, exhale, squeeze your left hip in towards your right hip. Twist your abdomen, belly, chest up. Stretch your top arm higher, higher, higher. Then inhale, come on up. Come on up. Ooh. If you want to do that again, you can pause. Repeat side to side. I think once was enough for me. All right. Find your way back to downward facing dog. Again, either child's pose or inhale to a plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. I think I'm going to take a child's pose for a moment. Oh. All right, so now I hope you have just a little bit more leg work in you. One of the nice things to do after this type of, let's call it exploratory standing pose work, is to just take a moment and go back to your normal standing poses and just kind of see how they've changed with these different type of activations and these movements. So we'll move through them pretty quickly. I want you to try to even do it without props. See what kind of depths and explorations you can find. Go to down dog. Inhale, stretch your right leg up. Exhale, step your right foot forward. Rise up to warrior two. Then, right fingertips on the floor outside of your right foot. Stretch your top arm past your ear. Can you find the work of the right sit bone, the work of the inner arch of your front foot, where you turn and stretch? Then triangle pose. Straighten your front leg. Walk your hand back a little bit. Keep all the work that we've been doing. And extend. Rebend your right knee. Downward dog. Second side, left leg up. And left leg through. Right heel down, warrior two. Left fingers down. Top arm past your ear, stretch. Left sit bone in. Inner arch up, back outer heel down. Triangle pose. Downward dog. And come to seated. All right. Let's see. Let's do just a little bit of seated work. Face towards the screen and separate your legs. Just a momentary Upavishta Konasana. Don't take your legs as wide apart as possible. A lot of the times when we go into this pose, we automatically think, okay, I'm going to take my legs, feet as wide apart as possible. Go to like 80%. Then, from here, bend your right knee and bring your right foot to in front of your pelvis. So you're trying to keep the angle between your right knee and your left foot the same. So the hips stay open. Then reach back, pull the flesh of your butt up and back. Now, take your left fingers on the outside of your left thigh. Take your right arm up, twist and fold. Take your right hand on the outside edge of your foot or your calf. Now, as you exhale, gently use your right hand as leverage to turn your upper body deeper over your left thigh. Then, to any extent, begin to fold. As you fold, extend the chest forward so there's lengthening of the spine, even though you're flexing and rounding the spine to fold in. All right. Inhale, come on up. Switch sides. Those of you at home who have tighter hamstrings, legs, hips, which is most of us, and you have maybe a blanket or a pillow to sit up on nearby, or a yoga blanket, go ahead and sit up on a blanket to give yourself a little more leverage to fold. So again, as you go back to the front side, or the right leg out, left leg in, sit bones back and up, reach over and hold the foot or the calf. Again, using the leverage of your left hand and the exhale to turn, twist, and fold. Inhale, come on up. Go back to Upavishta Konasana for a moment. Pull the flesh of your buttocks up and back. All right. Now, first thing I want you to do, take your hands to your hips. For some of you, this will be easy. For most of us, this is really difficult to do. And then just remember if you go all the way back to horse stance, when I had you roll your butt way back and then roll it forward, been having you do a lot of work of pushing the butt forward. I want you to do the opposite now and kind of roll your butt back so that you're tilting the front of the groins down a little bit more. Then squeeze your legs, breathe. If that was really difficult for you to do, I want you to just keep on rolling the hips down and back, keeping your spine up. For those of you who are able to find that, this is called an anterior or forward tilt of your pelvis. Now, take your hands behind you for a second. Press your heels down into the floor. Now, without actually moving your feet, push your heels out and back. So push your heels back against the resistance of the floor till you feel the sides of your glutes engage. Then move your hips forward an inch. Again, roll the inner groins down. This is for everybody. Squeeze the legs. Press the heels and push the heels back to get the groins to fire. The hips to fire. Now for me, that movement of the hips forward, it was small, but that was the max. If you feel like you have more space, you can try taking your hips forward, but very, very little bit. You're trying to find a balance of both the inner thighs rolling down and the hips working strong. Now lean back all the way. Bend your knees, feet together, knees apart, Baddha Konasana for a second. All right. We're going to try one more thing. It's the same type of work that we've been doing, but it's a lot more subtle. It's a lot more difficult to access on the ground, but let's just try it, just for fun. Okay, take your legs wide. Bring your right foot in. Pull the flesh of your butt up and back. Okay. Now, like we did a few minutes ago, take your right hand to the outside of the foot or the calf. Turn your chest over and then fold. All right. Now, from here, take your left arm to the inside of the left leg and hold onto your foot however you can. Maybe you're up here, holding like this, or down here with your palm turned up. Now pause. Before you try to go into your deep twisted Pavritajana Shirsasana, take your right hand onto your hip. Here's where things are very subtle, but try. Bring your awareness to the back of your left butt cheek, just like we've been doing all class long. Squeeze your left sit bone, pull it forward. It's not actually going to move very much because it's stuck on the ground, but pull your left sit bone forward towards the screen until you almost start to roll back like you're going to fall backward. As you pull your sit bone forward towards the screen, turn and rotate your chest up, up, up. As you squeeze your sit bone in, I know this sounds crazy, roll your inner left heel down at the same time. Left sit bone in, inner left heel down. Now stretch your top arm past your ear. Maybe you grab your top foot. Left sit bone in again. Roll the inner heel down and twist your upper back. And then inhale, come on out. And switch sides. So, I know that this is a really difficult pose under normal circumstances, but now I'm asking you to focus on a subtlety inside of a difficult pose. So some of you might just be doing this pose trying to breathe through the intensity of the hamstring, of the spine, of the chest. That's totally fine. If you can start to play, once you have familiarity with this pose, if you can start to play with some of these subtleties, it'll not only help to stabilize the parts that tend to be unstable, but it'll also help you to really extend and open up into the difficult parts of your upper back, even though we haven't really even focused on the upper back. So first, pull both buttocks up and back. This side's harder for me. I have an injury, a long-standing injury on this hip from my dog tripping me. She had a vendetta against me. And then you turn, twist, fold. Okay. Now again, here we go. Take your right arm to the inside of the leg. Again, a lot of you will be up here, and that's totally fine. Some of you may be further down. Before you try to twist your upper chest, like we've been doing, squeeze your right sit bone towards the camera. Your left hip will probably come up off the ground. Now, as you squeeze the right sit bone in and turn your chest, you'll probably begin to lean back a little bit. That's the aim of this pose. Right sit bone in, and then you'll notice, as I squeeze my right sit bone in, my inner heel starts to come up. So keep the right sit bone squeezing and roll the inner heel down at the same time. That is so hard. But then every time you repeat these actions, bring the right sit bone forward, press your bottom elbow down, turn your chest, squeeze the inner heel. You'll be able to turn your upper back more deeply. And now maybe stretch your top arm and grab your foot, Pavritajana Shirsasana. Inhale, come on out. Come on up. Jesus Christ. I hope you're okay after that. Grab your block. Lie down on your back. Put your block at the highest setting under your sacrum. If that's too much on your lower back, go to the middle setting. Take a moment. Enjoy a supported bridge pose. Tuck your shoulders underneath. Take a few moments to breathe. Let the weight of your body drop onto the block. Now, either stay here. This might be too intense on your lower back, but if you can try straightening out your legs. That puts tension in your lower back. Keep your knees bent. I'm going to even stretch my arms overhead. And then walk your feet back if you straighten your legs. Lift up, lower your butt down. Now just one bridge pose without the block. Lift your hips, interlace your fingers, walk your shoulders in and together. Oh, breathe. Exhale, lower down. Now just cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Hold behind your left thigh or in front of your calf. Thread the needle. And then switch sides. And release. Now just separate your feet with your knees bent as wide as your mat. Drop your knees to the left. Lift your left foot up, place it on top of your right knee. Stretch your arms overhead. If you have a preferred supine twist you like to finish with before Shavasana, you can take that instead. And then come back to center. Both knees over to the right. This time, right foot on top of your left knee. Gently press your left knee down with your right foot. And come back to center. Give both knees a light squeeze to your chest. Shavasana. Take a deep breath in. And just take a nice deep breath in. Bend your knees, roll over to your side. Just pause for a moment on your side. And gently come up to seated. So I hope that you found all of that glute work on top of the last video's glute work enlightening, and that you're finding new muscles in your legs and in your spine. Like I end all my videos with, if in this very difficult time you can afford to make a small donation to my teaching, my payment instructions are below. I know most of you are strongly affected financially by the current pandemic, so please take as many videos free of charge, no pressure. I hope you're doing well out there, and we'll see you next time.